Imagine a figure who, right around age 40, makes this huge shift, goes from, worldly things to this incredibly intense spiritual quest.
Yeah, a really profound change. And he did this despite facing, well, enormous opposition.
Exactly. Yet he managed to chart this bold new course for an ancient faith.
That's right. Today we're doing a deep dive into the life, the extraordinary life, really, and the legacy of Hazrat Mirza Ghulam
The
Ahmad.
founder of the Ahmadiyya Movement.
Precisely. And our guide for this journey is a really remarkable book. It's called The Founder of the Ahmadiyya Movement by Maulana Muhammad Ali.
And this isn't just some history book, right?
Not at all. It's an authoritative biography, and it's written by someone who actually knew him personally in his later years, so it offers really unique insights.
Wow, so firsthand knowledge.
Absolutely. It was first published way back in 1937, then updated in 2008 for the 100th anniversary of his death. So it gives you perspective on a figure who's, well, often quite misunderstood.
Okay, so our mission today, we want to unpack the most important nuggets of knowledge from this material.
Yeah, give you a kind of shortcut to understanding the key moments in his life, the really big claims he made, the controversies.
They sound pretty intense.
Oh, they were, and also the lasting impact of the movement he started.
By the end, you should really get why this man, born in this small, quiet village, is seen as having had this, well, truly global impact on religious thought.
So let's get into it. Where does it all start?
Right, let's begin with his formative years. The first 40 years, basically, which really set the stage for everything that followed.
Okay.
He was born in Canadian, a small village in Punjab, probably around 1835 or 1836. There's some confusion, but that seems most likely.
And his family background is pretty significant too, isn't it?
Yeah, they trace their roots back to the Barlas tribe, part of the Mughal family. They settled in India under Babar, and his ancestor actually founded Canadian itself.
But it wasn't smooth sailing for the family, right? There was a lot of turmoil.
Definitely. You have to understand the historical context. They lost their whole estate during the Sikh rule, faced real persecution.
Right, a period of real difficulty.
It was only under his father, Mirza Ghulam Murtaza, that they managed to get some land back. And these experiences, they left a really deep mark on Ahmad.
How so?
Well, he came to see the British rule that followed as a genuine blessing. He actually credited it with saving Muslims in Punjab from what he called slavery and annihilation.
Wow, strong words. And that view, I imagine, wasn't universally popular?
No, definitely not. It drew criticism from some political figures later on, but it was absolutely central to his own outlook.
Interesting. So amidst all this political upheaval, what was his early life like?
Remarkably pious, actually. He was educated at home, learned the Holy Quran, Arabic, had private tutors, and he was known for being very studious, kind of reclusive even. Apparently, this worried his father quite a bit.
Worried?
Well, his father had these worldly ambitions, wanted his son to help recover the family's lost status, maybe go into government service or something. Ahmad just wasn't interested in that.
So that inclination away from worldly things was there early on?
Absolutely, and it only got stronger. He did spend 4 years working for the government in Sialkot, for about 1864 to 1868.
Okay, so he did try it.
He did, but it seems like that experience just reinforced his feelings. He mostly kept to himself, preferred talking about religious topics, even debated Christian missionaries there.
And there's even contemporary accounts of this, right?
Yeah, interestingly, Maulvi Sirajuddin, whose son later became a major opponent, wrote in his newspaper that even as a young man, Ahmad was incredibly righteous, God-fearing, spent all his time studying religion.
So consistent character, even from a young age.
Very consistent. And then comes a major turning point. His father's death in June 1876. Ahmad was about 40 then.
And that had a profound impact.
Huge. He talked about having a vision beforehand, foretelling his father's death. And then came this specific divine revelation. Is God not sufficient for his servant?
Wow.
He described that moment as the dawn of a new era. It marked the start of what you said was this constant stream of divine revelations, and it completely changed his life's direction.
So that revelation, is God not sufficient for his servant? That was really pivotal.
Absolutely. After his father died, he felt free from, even the subtle pressure to pursue worldly things. He just dedicated himself entirely to religion.
Primarily studying the Quran.
Intensively. His son later said he might have read it 10,000 times, just immersed himself in it, in solitude.
But not in the way some Sufis might, through ascetic practices.
No, he was quite specific about that.
Yeah.
He rejected Sufi innovations that weren't based on the Prophet Muhammad's practice. For him, the path was deep, solitary study of the Quran itself.
And alongside this study, he was having these divine experiences.
Yes. He described, for example, a period of extended fasting based on a vision. And this led to what he called wonderful visions relating to the future.
Which he later published.
Exactly. They formed a core part of his first major work, Barahin Ahmadiyya. For him, these were undeniable proof of his connection with God.
It's also interesting how early he got involved in comparative religion. He didn't just focus inward.
That's a great point. From his mid-teens, apparently he was deeply studying Christian literature. He collected something like 3,000 objections that were raised against Prophet Muhammad.
3,000. That's meticulous.
Incredibly meticulous. And he was genuinely pained by what he saw as Christianity's aggressive and often disrespectful anti-Islamic propaganda, particularly coming from a place called Batala.
So this wasn't just academic study, it was personal.
Deeply personal. It spurred him to take up the challenge, as the book says, in real earnest. He started publishing articles in Muslim journals defending Islam.
And he had bigger plans too, right, for a larger work.
Yes, there's this fascinating handwritten note from 1873. It outlines his plan for a major comparative study.
What was the goal?
To prove definitively the perfection and comprehensiveness of Islamic law compared to the Torah and the Gospels. Essentially, to demonstrate Islam's superiority through rigorous comparison.
And his comparative work wasn't just focused on Christianity.
No, he engaged very actively with other movements too. The Arya Samaj, for instance, a Hindu reform movement founded by Swami Dayanand that was also challenging Islam.
He debated them.
Oh yes, publicly. And interestingly, one Hindu editor actually praised his arguments, calling them clear and based on logical principles, especially his points against things like the transmigration of souls.
That's quite an endorsement from an opponent.
It is. He also engaged with the Brahmo Samaj, another liberal Hindu movement. They were influenced by Sufism, but crucially, they denied the possibility of ongoing divine revelation.
Which was fundamental for Ahmad.
Absolutely fundamental. So his focus with them was really on demonstrating that communion with God, that religious experience, was still a living reality.
Okay, so this sets the stage for his own major claims, which is where things get really controversial.
Exactly. This is the turning point. In 1882, in his book, Barahin Ahmadiyya, he makes his first big public claim.
Which was?
He declared himself the promised reformer, the Mujaddid for the 14th century of the Hijra, the Islamic calendar.
Based on divine revelation.
Yes. He said it was a direct command from God. And initially, this claim was actually generally accepted by many Muslims.
Really? Why was that?
Well, you have to remember the context. The Muslim world felt itself to be in a pretty dire state. Lots of internal divisions, attacks from outside. There was a real longing for a reformer.
And there's a hadith about this, right?
Exactly. A tradition predicting a reformer, a Mujaddid, at the head of each century. So his claim fit that expectation. Even Maulvi Muhammad Hussein, who later became a fierce opponent, initially praised the book in Ahmad's religious experience.
So initial acceptance, but then things changed.
Dramatically. The next step came in December 1888. He announced another divine command to start accepting bayat.
The oath of fealty.
Right. To form a distinct group of followers. And this wasn't just a typical Sufi pledge of discipleship.
How is it different?
It had 10 specific conditions. The core one was about placing religion and the honor of religion dearer to him than his life and his property. Later summarized as, I will place religion above the world.
So a very serious commitment.
A profound commitment, yeah. Focused on actively guarding and spreading Islam.
Okay, and then came the claim that really shook things up.
Yes. The bombshell, as the book calls it. In 1890, he announced two things. First, that Jesus Christ had died a natural death.
Which goes against the common Muslim belief that he ascended to heaven alive.
Exactly. And second, he declared that the prophecies about the coming of the Messiah and the Mahdi were fulfilled in his own person.
Wow, that must have caused an uproar.
It completely changed the whole attitude of the Muslim community towards him. Overnight, many who had admired him now denounced him as an impostor, an arch-heretic.
Yet some observers noted his courage.
Yes, Dr. Griswold, a contemporary Christian observer, actually praised his courage for making such a, well, radically unconventional claim.
So why did he make these claims? What was the rationale, according to him?
He explained it was divinely guided. The purpose was to remove two great obstacles that were hindering the spread of Islam.
Okay, what were they?
First, the belief that Jesus was still physically alive in heaven. He argued this propped up Christianity and also led to a kind of inactivity among Muslims, just waiting for Jesus to return. Second, the common belief that the Mahdi would come and wage holy war, jihad, to force people into Islam. He said this perpetuated the false idea that Islam was spread by the sword, which contradicts the Quranic verse, "There is no compulsion in religion."
So his claim was meant to correct these misunderstandings.
Precisely. To reframe these concepts, emphasizing a spiritual struggle and revival, not physical warfare or waiting for miracles. And this claim also shifted his whole approach to Christianity, didn't it?
Absolutely. He went from being primarily defensive, clearing Prophet Muhammad's name from missionary attacks, to going on the offensive.
Offensive in what sense?
Specifically aiming to, in his words, shatter to pieces the core Christian doctrine of the cross and atonement, now that he claimed the awaited Messiah, whose second coming Christians also awaited, was himself.
Right. And this new perspective also led him to reinterpret other figures, like the Dajjal and Gog and Magog.
Yes, really original interpretations here. He identified the Dajjal, usually seen as the Antichrist, not as one person, but as an association of liars.
Meaning?
He linked it to the Christian nations of Europe and America. For him, Dajjal represented a kind of spiritual blindness, immense worldly power and knowledge, yes, but lacking true spiritual insight.
And Gog and Magog.
He saw them as referring to the two prosperous nations of Europe at the time, basically. The Teutonic races, like the English, and the Slav races, like the Russians. Powerful, materially advanced nations.
He also had that vision about London, didn't he?
Yes, a vision of himself speaking in London. And he connected this to the hadith about the sun rising from the west.
How did he interpret that?
He believed it meant that the Western world itself would eventually shine with the sun of truth, meaning Islam. He foresaw the eventual Islamization of Europe.
So a very strong conviction about spreading Islam westward.
Absolutely. It fueled his desire to write extensively and get his message out, especially to the West.
So this period after the claims, it was marked by intense opposition, but also incredible productivity.
Astonishing productivity. From 1891, when he was about 55, until he died in 1908, he produced over 7,000 pages of original writing.
7,000 pages, while facing opposition and health issues.
Exactly. He suffered from chronic problems, like fainting spells, syncope and polyuria, excessive urination. It's almost unbelievable output under those circumstances. It speaks volumes about his dedication.
And the opposition wasn't just theoretical, right? It was very direct.
Oh, absolutely direct, especially from the Orthodox ulama, the religious scholars. After his messiahship claim, they fought him tooth and nail. There were public debates, intense ones, in cities like Ludhiana, Delhi, Lahore.
And this brings up that crucial point about whether he claimed to be a prophet.
Yes, this is a major point of contention and misunderstanding. He consistently and repeatedly denied claiming actual legislative prophethood.
He affirmed the finality of Prophet Muhammad's prophethood.
Absolutely. He stated clearly his belief that Prophet Muhammad was the seal of the prophets. He explained that when he used the word prophet Nabi for himself, it was in a metaphorical sense, meaning muhaddath, which translates to one who is spoken to by God. A recipient of divine communication, but not a law-bearing prophet bringing a new scripture. He stressed this distinction constantly in writing and signed agreements.
He even said the literal meaning should be disregarded for him.
Yes, he said the literal meaning of Nabi should be blotted out when referring to him, precisely to avoid this confusion.
Beyond debates, he also faced legal battles.
Numerous ones. Between 1897 and 1904, he faced criminal charges, defamation suits, launched by opponents.
Including serious charges like abetment of murder.
Yes, brought by a Christian missionary, Dr. Henry Martin Clark. And defamation suits from figures like Maulvi Karam Din. It was relentless.
And the outcome of these cases?
Quite remarkably, he was successful in all of them. Every single one, civil and criminal. He often mentioned receiving divine intimations about the outcomes beforehand. It's a striking pattern. His engagements went beyond Islam and Christianity too, didn't they? You mentioned the Arya Samaj, but also Sikhism. Yes, in 1895, he did this investigation into Guru Nanak's kola, a ceremonial cloak kept in Dera Nanak.
What did he find?
He reported finding Quranic verses written on it, leading him to conclude that Guru Nanak was essentially a Muslim saint. This, predictably, caused quite a stir within the Sikh community, though the book says the factual basis wasn't challenged. That's what the source states, yes. He also reached out to Hindus. In 1904, he gave a lecture in Sialkot specifically for a Hindu audience.
What was his message there?
He explained that Hindu prophecies about future reformers were also fulfilled in his person. His aim, he stated, was the unification of all the great nations, really pushing for interfaith understanding based on his claims.
The sheer breadth of his writing is incredible.
It really is. He tackled Hinduism in its various forms: Buddhism, Judaism, Baha'ism, numerous Islamic sects, Christianity, even atheism and materialism.
And with real depth.
Yes. The source emphasizes the originality and thoroughness of his approach. He brought fresh perspectives to many Islamic concepts, too, like the universality of prophethood.
Meaning prophets appeared everywhere.
Exactly. He stressed the Quranic teaching that prophets had appeared among all nations and that God continues to speak to righteous people. Divine revelation wasn't just a thing of the past, it's a potential universal experience of humanity.
And his reinterpretation of jihad was also hugely significant.
Immensely so. He directly challenged the common misunderstanding that jihad meant holy war to kill non-believers.
What was his definition?
He clarified it means exerting oneself to the extent of one's ability and power, primarily a spiritual struggle, a striving. Armed conflict, he argued, was only allowed in clear self-defense, never for forcing conversion.
And he linked the end of fighting to the Messiah.
Yes, he said the coming of the promised Messiah, which he claimed to be, signaled an end of jihad with the sword. A major shift in emphasis towards peaceful propagation.
This ties into the controversy about his loyalty to the British, doesn't it?
It does. That loyalty stance was often criticized, but he explained it very clearly.
What was his reasoning again?
Primarily, it was gratitude for the stability and religious freedom the British provided, especially compared to the chaos and persecution under the preceding Sikh rule. He saw it as essential for allowing his community to practice and preach freely.
Others felt similarly.
Yes, it's important context. Many other prominent Muslim leaders at the time expressed similar loyalty for similar reasons. For Ahmad, it was also about keeping his religious movement free from political entanglement.
He also made a big impact at that Conference of Religions in Lahore.
Oh, absolutely. In 1896, he actually prophesied beforehand that his paper would be declared superior.
And was it?
Well, it certainly made a huge impression. It's said to have deeply impressed Leo Tolstoy, for one, and it's still considered a really powerful explanation of Islamic teachings.
And then there's his solution to the mystery of Jesus.
Right, a really core and original part of his teaching. His answer to Jesus' supposed death on the cross and his second coming.
Which was?
He taught that Jesus did not die on the cross. He survived the crucifixion, recovered, and then traveled east through Afghanistan to Kashmir.
And died there.
Yes, died a natural death much later at the age of 120, according to Ahmad, and was buried in Srinagar, where his tomb is known as that of Yusuf.
And the implication of this?
It completely undermines the Christian doctrine of atonement through Jesus' death on the cross. And it makes the second coming purely metaphorical, fulfilled spiritually by Ahmad himself, similar to how John the Baptist fulfilled the prophecy of Elijah's return.
To get these ideas out, especially to the West, he started the magazine.
He did. The Review of Religions, an English monthly launched in 1902.
The first of its kind.
Apparently the first religious magazine in English to deal with Islamic matters from a Muslim perspective. Even critical observers like H.A. Walter acknowledged its quality and broad appeal.
So a key tool for the mission.
A crucial first step for the global missionary work he envisioned.
As he neared the end of his life, he seemed to know it was coming.
Yes, in 1905 he spoke of receiving revelations about his approaching death. This led him to write and publish his last will, Al-Wasiyah.
The will. And in it, he predicted the movement's future.
He did. He prophesied that the movement would continue and prosper after his death.
And he set up a structure for that.
Yes. To ensure continuity, he established the Sadr Anjuman Ahmadiyya, the chief society of the Ahmadis.
As his successor.
As his organizational successor, yes. The supreme governing body with full control over the movement's administration and finances, explicitly tasked to carry on work after him. A very deliberate structure.
His very last work was about peace.
Indeed. Message of Peace, written just before he died, a really remarkable document aimed at bridging the gap between Hindus and Muslims.
What was the core idea?
Mutual respect, based on recognizing each other's prophets, Rama and Krishna for Hindus, Prophet Muhammad for Muslims. He even offered as a gesture that his community would give up cow slaughter, which is obviously a sensitive issue for Hindus.
Showing a deep commitment to harmony right up to the end.
Absolutely. He passed away shortly after, on May 26, 1908, in Lahore. He was 73. It was due to an attack of diarrhea. His body was then taken back to Kadian for burial.
Looking back, his legacy's undeniable. He really did shake things up.
He truly revolutionized many of the existing religious ideas, as the book puts it. He gave a completely new direction to how Islam was presented and spread, especially targeting the West.
Unraveling mysteries, challenging Christianity.
Right, in its very home, challenging core dogmas. And you see the results today, mosques in Western countries, changing perceptions, however gradual, about Islam.
What about his personal character? What impression does the book give?
It paints a picture of remarkable simplicity in his habits, profound concentration, incredible patience and forbearance, especially given the attacks he faced.
Steadfast.
Unwavering adherence to truth, even under oath in court. But his severity, the book stresses, was only ever directed at attacks on religion itself, on God or Prophet Muhammad, never personal insults against him.
Let's tackle those key misconceptions again, just to be really clear. First, the prophet claim.
Right. It's crucial. The charge that he claimed literal prophethood is presented here as a definite misunderstanding or misrepresentation.
He explicitly denied it.
Repeatedly, quoting him, "I am not a claimant to prophethood, nor have I said that I am a prophet." He always upheld the finality of Prophet Muhammad.
So the term Muhaddith is key.
Exactly. One spoken to by God. He used prophet metaphorically in line with some Sufi terminology for high spiritual status, but always clarified he didn't mean actual legislative prophethood. He wanted that literal meaning blotted out for himself.
Okay. Second misconception. Attacking Jesus.
Yes. The book clarifies he deeply respected Jesus Christ, as all Muslims do, honoring him as a prophet and believing in his miraculous birth.
So who is he criticizing?
He said his criticism was aimed at the imaginary Messiah created by Christian dogma and missionary narratives. It was a direct response, a counter-critique to what he saw as vicious and scurrilous attacks on Prophet Muhammad by those same missionaries.
And this kind of counterattack wasn't unique to him.
No, the book notes other Muslim scholars at the time used similar methods to defend Islam against very aggressive polemics.
And finally, his harsh words for some of the ulama.
His severity towards certain Orthodox scholars, yeah. Again, the book frames this as a reaction to their attacks on him, calling him Dajjal, liar, cheat.
And issuing fatwas.
Exactly. Religious edicts declaring him and his followers apostates, denying them access to mosques, invalidating marriages, even saying their property could be seized. Really extreme opposition.
So he applied descriptions of corrupt scholars to them.
Yes. Descriptions found in Hadith. He argued these specific opponents were doing immense harm to Islam through their infighting and rigidity instead of presenting a united, positive front.
It's interesting how Western scholars viewed the movement he founded.
It is. The book quotes several sources: The Muslim World, Murray Titus, Wither Islam, DeLacy O'Leary.
And what's a general consensus?
They consistently describe the Ahmadiyya movement as remarkable, purely missionary in its focus, driven by incredible devotion, zeal, and sacrifice.
Active propagandists.
Most active propagandists of Islam, one says, also highlighting its highly ethical intellectual character, calling it a sophisticated, modern Muslim apologetic.
Which really pushes back against claims he was insincere or irrational.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This external scholarly view paints a picture of a very serious, impactful, and intellectually driven religious movement originating from his efforts.
And the author of the source book, Maulana Muhammad Ali, played a huge role in continuing that legacy.
An absolutely pivotal role. Ahmad had immense trust in him, a special love, the book says. He made him the editor of the Review of Religions,
Which Ahmad saw as central to his mission.
Yes, he called the magazine the real purpose of my life. He wished he had more people like Maulana Muhammad Ali appointed him Secretary of the Central Anjuman.
And there was that symbolic gesture with the pen.
Yes, Ahmad symbolically gave him his pen. It was seen as signifying the transfer of religious knowledge and the specific task of spreading Islam through scholarly work, through writing.
And Maulana Muhammad Ali delivered on that.
He really did. He went on to write the major work, The Religion of Islam, and, crucially, undertook that massive project, the first widely available English translation of the Holy Quran, with detailed commentary by a Muslim, truly carrying on Ahmad's mission as a direct offshoot.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, journeyed through the really complex life of Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad.
Definitely. A figure driven by this intense passion to revive Islam, who wasn't afraid to challenge long-held beliefs both within Islam and outside it.
And who started a movement with this incredibly strong global missionary focus. You really get a sense of his deep convictions, the fierce opposition he endured.
And the undeniable lasting impact of his ideas.
As we wrap up, thinking about his dedication to reinterpreting and presenting Islam for his time, maybe for the world, it leaves you with some questions.
Like what?
Well, how do these ancient texts, these foundational beliefs we hold, how do they actually evolve? Or how do we find new meaning in them when times change, when new challenges arise?
That's a deep question. And related to that, what does it actually take for one person, someone armed, really, with just a vision, maybe a profound personal experience?
Yeah, what does it take for them to spark something? A movement that ends up redefining a faith for millions and continues to do so long after they're gone.
It really makes you think about the power of individual conviction and interpretation in shaping religious history.